Hi, Chris.
Hey Cheryl, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's Wednesday, another day of the week, right?
Yep, that it is.
Nobody else showed up.
I think it might just be the two of us today. There's supposed to be a third person, but I don't know if they're going to make it.
You think I thought there'd be more?
Well, I was hoping, but these are new, so I think people are still
Well,
trying to understand what they are and know that they're available. So it'll get there.
that's good.
But we can chat about software and compare our experiences with them.
Oh yeah. Huh. So which one
So,
have you had? I've used the Tile Express the most, but I've also used the Qualia. I started learning Qualia, and then I also know Soft Pro.
yep, I've got experience with Title Express. I've used Soft Pro extensively, although it's been a while, and I know Qualia inside and out. And then I've seen demos for some of the other software systems, Snap Close and Closing View, which used to be eClose. And I've
I'm not
seen
familiar with those.
what was that?
I'm not familiar with those, but
They're smaller companies.
Mhm.
So eClose was bought by Old Republic maybe 2 years ago, something like that.
Mhm.
And they just totally rebranded and redid their whole user interface last year. And I've gotten to see. I saw it before they did it, and I
Mhm.
saw it afterwards, and oh my goodness, the difference! It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I know First Americans on the. I think is it another I think it's another year at the most. There's going to be a whole new new version of what Tile Express is. They're supposed to be doing a whole new version of that, but it's not going to be called Tile Express.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I feel like they kind of have to if they're going to continue to maintain any kind of market share because they're
Yeah.
getting a little dated.
Well, to me, I've used Tile Express. To me, it's the easiest one to use. I used SoftPro for a while with the one company I work for. I mean, everything you got to go to a different screen to find it and input it. And if it isn't, I'm like, and then
Yeah, it's
Qualia
a
to me is
tough balancing point for
yeah.
the software companies to kind
Mm.
of strike that balance between ease of use, but yet having all of the bells and whistles that any title
Mm.
company could possibly need for any transaction. So that's a tough place for them to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. Well, they all want to try and be the one all that does everything. I'm like, I get you want to do everything, but figure out how to be, at least do it to the best part of being decent that everybody can use it.
Yeah, yeah, user interface is really important. That whole
Mm.
experience of how does the user move around. I think Qualia has that nailed.
I wasn't sold on Qualia. I didn't use it enough, so
Yeah, did you find that it was difficult to find what you were looking for?
um, I know sometimes it wanted when you entered something, it wanted it changed it to what it thought it should be instead of what you entered at times.
Yeah, well, it has some calculations. And, I think with any software, part of it too is training the staff well so that they understand how it works and how they're supposed to use it. I've done a lot of software consulting over the years, and a lot of times the complaints that I run into that people have,
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter which production software you're looking at, it's kind of all the same. Um, Generally the complaints that people have are because they just don't know how to use the software properly, and had they received better training, they would have felt really differently about it.
Yeah, well, for me, Qualia was coming into the title company, and then I left them, and then I went to the company that had Soft Pro. So
Yeah, so not enough time with it.
no,
I think Qualia's interface is really easy to use, and it's really easy on the eyes. It's pretty to look at, and when you got to
mm,
work in that all day long, that matters.
yeah,
um but then they're also really powerful behind the scenes. There's a lot of things you can do to customize. There's a lot you can do with workflow, especially, um, to make things more efficient. And, for a title company that puts the time and effort into
mhm.
learning how to do those customizations and really tweaking that system so it runs really smoothly with their processes, they get a lot of bang for their buck out of it. Um, I I used Qualia for one of my title companies that I owned, and I was really shocked at the amount of time I saved processing title, going from Qualia to, going to Qualia from my previous software. It knocked so much time off of the time it took to process a title file. Now
Mhm.
I was using their Connect system with it, which is that online portal,
Right, okay.
and their marketplace to order products. So it takes some of those other services to get all of the efficiency gains there, and then you're paying more. There's a trade-off. But it just made it so much easier. Like I didn't have to make phone calls and bug people all the time to get information, because the portal would email them automatically and say, we need this, we need this, we need this. And people
Mhm.
would fill it in. And I didn't have to type the data in either, because people were filling it in and sending it, and it was going right into the right place in the software. So it had some neat features like that, but if you don't spend the time to take advantage of them,
Mhm.
then you miss out, because it's not just baked in. You've got to
Right.
set it up right. So, and you're using SoftPro now, right?
Tile Express.
Oh, you use Title Express now?
Yeah, the guy I worked for the first two title companies I worked for had Tile Express. And then, it was in the last like 2019, I went to a company that was using SoftPro and then was going to Qualia. So I was learning
Okay.
both of those, and then I left there because that was a whole mess. And then
Yeah.
the company I worked for before working with Property Search and Settlement, they were using SoftPro. So figuring out SoftPro, I like I said, I've used Tile Express almost 14 out of the 18 years I've been doing this. So I
Yeah.
figured the ins and outs, but you are right. Tile Express is starting to get data, and there's some things that it does need to get updated with.
Yeah. And I think if you saw some of the automations that were available in some of the other softwares,
Mhm.
you'd be pretty impressed with them. There's a comfort level. When you work with something for such a long time, you kind of love it just because you know all the ins and outs, so you can move around pretty quickly. Not because it actually allows you to move quickly, but just
Mhm.
because you're used to it.
Yeah.
And that learning curve of learning a new software, that automatically slows you down no matter how good the software is. Um, but yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Title Express. I've always thought there were other softwares that did it better. But
Mhm.
they had the right price point, and that was really appealing for people too. Um,
Yeah, they're still what, I think 4.95 a month or something.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
But
that's what it is.
yeah, and that's one of the things I like about Closing View. Is the price point is
Mhm.
really good. They don't quite have all the bells and whistles that some of the bigger guys do,
Mhm.
like SoftPro and Qualia and RamQuest, because they're just not as big of a company, and they haven't been doing it
Mhm.
quite as long. But for what you get for the price, it
Yeah.
really can't be beat. And SoftPro is incredibly powerful. They've been around for such a long time. They've had all that time for the developers to put in all those little customizations that you need to accommodate, every state and every possible scenario you could think of. And they've got some pretty good automations too.
The only thing I didn't like about SoftPro is you had to keep flipping through different screens and other stuff to add stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that workflow is really important when designing a
Yeah.
software.
See, that's the one thing I like about I fell in love. I like about Tile Express. And like I said, I don't know enough about Qualia to say anything about that, but that's what I like about Tile Express. You follow the tabs, you put all the information in, it populates all the way through.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you
I
don't have
will
to keep
agree.
you don't
Yeah.
have to keep finding those 4 different sections to find something to change like SoftPro was. I'm like,
Yeah, Title Express's layout, they really understood the process that you
mhm,
go through to process title, and they did do a really good job of laying out those fields in a way that was very practical for how the life cycle of that title file. So yeah, I do agree that that's definitely an upside to them.
I always tell people I used to take some of what Tile Express did a little bit, and some of the others, and create a software that way that. Because some of them time, I agree with you. All of them have their positives and little quirks to them that, as I said, I'm partial to Tile Express, but I've used it the most, and I'm comfortable with it. Doesn't mean I wouldn't switch again if I had
Yeah.
to or
Yep.
needed to. But all these companies that keep coming out, oh, we can do title insurance software better than these guys, and I've
Yeah.
seen some of that looks like it's, I think you guys were just in it for the money, not for understanding what we do.
Yeah. And, and that's a real challenge because, to do that and do it well, you have to understand both title insurance and software development. And those are two whole niche
Yeah.
specialties. And to get that kind of knowledge, you're not really going to get that within one person. And to get that within a company and within a team, they have to grow really carefully and hire people really carefully. And that's definitely a challenge because, you get people who have the technical skills to, code and develop a really good software and a really good user interface. And that's great. But if they don't know title, then they're going to miss some of the nuance to it. But, to find title people with experience who also understand anything about technology, that's pretty rare too.
Yeah. You make a valid point, because I know enough about my software to use it and make it productive for me, but how to code it and stuff, forget it.
Yeah.
I'm out in left field over the bleachers and up in the nosebleed sections, because
Yeah. And, a good portion of my consulting has been within the software as a service and software development world. And I've conducted lots and lots of conversations with people over the years about their software and, what's working for them and what's not and what they like and what they don't. And the one thing I can say is that consistently people give terrible feedback. They'll say things like, oh, well, it just looks weird. Okay, but that's not specific. Or this was really hard to do, but they couldn't explain what exactly about it was hard or what would make it easier. And so again, for those technical software people to take feedback, especially from people who are doing a job that they don't know, they've never done, there's a lot that gets lost in translation.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I've been fortunate enough on occasion to actually be able to sit down with some of the software people and have those sort of conversations and provide some of that feedback. And it's a lot of fun because I do speak both languages, but it's hard to come by.
Yeah, you're probably one of the few people that I run across that can do both.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense because, that's the two industries don't really lead into each other as far as, career moves or things like
No.
that. So yeah, it makes sense why there's not very many people with both skill sets. But it'd be nice if there were more because it would really carry the technology forward so much faster.
Yeah, I like I said, from what I remember, Qualia, yeah, it was more colorful. There was more, more details to it. And Title Express is just blah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
fill everything in, and that's what it's there for.
It's very, very practical. But, that said, while it is super practical and maybe it's not super pretty, it's also not ugly and hard on the eyes.
No.
It's easy to be in there looking at it all day long, even if it's nothing special to look at. Whereas like Closing View, before they did their makeover, so to speak,
Right.
oh gosh, some of the colors in there, that was really hard to look at, especially their one dashboard that kind of showed you the status of everything. That was hard on the eyes. I took a look at that. I'm like, I couldn't work in this all day long. I was really excited when I heard that they were redoing things, and they knocked it out of the park with their redo. It looks really good. It's definitely something that people could look at all day long and not want to jump out a window.
Yeah, we're only First Americans are only underwriters since, well, you talked to Frank the other day, so it's like looking to rebuild the business. So, who knows where, if we get busy enough to get another underwriter to look at something other than Title Express.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of options these days. RamQuest is working on a new product as well. I think they're in beta testing right now, and I've had the opportunity to see their new product. And that one It's definitely going to be a competitor. You know, it's all cloud-based, so you do everything in the web browser. It's got a lot of the bells and whistles, and they're pulling from all of that experience from all those years of RamQuest, which is great, and it shows, because it shows they know what they're doing and they understand the business. But you know, they've got just the new platform and you know, that
Mhm.
new user interface and things that people come to expect. So I'm excited for that one to really hit the open market.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the software is going to come, you know, the next 2, 3 years, what the software is going to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just growing by leaps and bounds, and the integrations are just amazing.
Well, Title Express, that's what they started with, and I think that's where the next phase of it's going to be. That's what I'm hearing. It's not going to be called Title Express. They're going to name it something new.
Yeah,
I mean, there's integrations with it, but it's plain and simple. You know, you get your policy tables through. You know, it's integrated through the cloud. You can order your title through a couple clicks, which is integrated in the cloud, and then the policy jackets and the final, you know, pricing and stuff is done through the cloud, integrated with the software. But
yeah,
everything else is you manually input it.
right. Yeah, and some of the software, like, you know, to be able to order a title search through the software and then be able to import all that data back in again, so you don't have to type anything. Like, that's amazing. The softwares that have that kind of integration, it's just incredible.
Title Express has it, but like I said, there's
It's a
I
few
think
steps to go through to import.
um well, I think there's about 8 or 9 because what happens is you have to click on there and it integrates into, you know, through the port, you know, First Americans thing site, and then it brings up the box and it has all the tabs on it. You have to make sure everything gets imported.
Yeah,
So you have like 5, 6 tabs. You have to make sure everything gets imported. Then you know, you get the final chance to input it the final time.
yeah, yeah. Whereas I've worked with softwares like Qualia, their integration with Old Republic, it's literally you click one button and
Mhm.
in everything comes, and you click another button and it spits out your finished title commitment. I mean, it's just that simple. It's really amazing.
Yeah, there's some extra steps. You have to go, you know, once it's imported, you have to go to the doc prep tab, and
Yeah.
you go into
Yep.
it brings up a Word doc screen.
Yeah. You know, there's an interesting conversation that's been going on this week on the Alta Open Forum.
Hmm.
Um, and it was kind of a discussion around how long it takes to do different tasks in the title world and how many files it would be reasonable for somebody to, you know, process or close in a week. And you know, one of the things that came up was, you know, how long does it take to type the policy? And my record is 6 minutes. But that requires really great, you know, use of software that makes it that easy.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think it could take other people, you know, 30, 45 minutes to prepare a policy and get it out the door.
In a good day, if everything's running smoothly, it also depends on how your internet connection goes.
Hmm.
You can get it through Title Express in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. And I've done
I
that.
mean, I don't think everything's going to beat 6 minutes, but I think that you're
Yeah,
right.
I don't think
That's where,
anything's gonna beat 6 minutes. I was pretty impressed with that one because I was timing myself. I'm like, just how fast can I do this? But yeah, 6 minutes was my record. I've done a lot of policies in Title Express. It's a service I offer to agents on occasion when they fall behind. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think I average about 15 minutes per policy in Title Express, which is not awful. It's
No,
not
I
awful,
mean,
but 6 minutes was amazing.
oh yeah, because when I was trying to do Soft Pro and I got thrown into trying to do policies, it's like everything you had to enter, nothing integrated through it.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Soft Pro has its uses, and I mean, I used it for about a year, and but you know, but
I think SoftPro is another one where it depends on how many of the extra features you buy into as well.
yeah,
Um, you know, they've got extra modules you can buy that I think really get you some wins for the efficiency and things like that. But you have to pay for it,
yeah.
and that can be a challenge sometimes. Now you said you were working at the one company and they're in the process of transitioning from one software to the other. How'd the transition go?
Um, they were just starting to use it as, to input new files into the system,
Okay,
but I was having trouble because they asked me to, I was the title clerk. I wasn't doing, full title stuff, trying to get integrated with some of the underwriters that they had, because they had First American, Old Republic, and something else. And
yeah.
First American would never integrate right with Qualia.
Oh, no.
That was one
Yeah,
of
I
the,
haven't used First American's integration.
yeah, that one was really tough to try to get integrated to get it to work.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, and that's a
that's
big
it,
key
yeah,
with
because
any of the softwares is how good is that integration? How well does it work?
some of it, I think First American, I don't think was ready for Qualia to really come on as it had.
Right. Yeah, then they may have worked some of those kinks out by now.
I think they probably have, but I know that with, First American, Fidelity, if they have their own platforms, like you were talking about with Old Republic, they push that stuff. They don't want to push Qualia or SoftPro because it's not their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that's a fine line for the underwriters to walk when they own competing softwares. How easy do they want to make it for their
Mhm.
agents to use a different software? And that's probably a bit more of a business decision than anything else.
Well, and I always tell people there's the really the big four, and I said all of them have grown outside of, First American is only a title insurance company. It's a bank company. It bought a 1031 exchange company.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
got, it's got everything but the kitchen sink and makes coffee for you in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, and all the big ones are like that.
Yeah,
They've got all those horizontal and vertical
yeah,
integrations to their business model, which, is a strong business model. And that's certainly one thing to consider is, how stable is your
mhm,
underwriter? You don't want them, filing for bankruptcy. That would be
yeah.
really bad. But at the same token, it's a valid question. Does that hurt them in their ability to represent agents, or are they spread too thin and going in too many directions? Um,
Well,
and
they
I
all
think,
are. And then I found out that Conestoga dropped out of being part of the Title Insurance Rating Bureau, so they're creating their own rates.
oh, they've been like that for a long time. And that's actually, that
huh.
can be an upside for them. Because on the really large transactions, agents are able to offer a discount, and
Yeah,
that
I
can
thought
help
they
them
were.
secure
I thought
business.
somebody said that they were in for a long time and then dropped out recently. But again, I just found out. I just looked into it that they dropped out of it and they're not part of it anymore. I'm like, because somebody asked me how can they advertise, lower rates than the title manual. I'm like, that's a very good question, because I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and yeah, they did. They dropped out of it. They have their own filed rates. And it so there's absolutely no reason why an agent can't or shouldn't write with them as far as, the rating goes. Because they've complied with all the laws. They
hmm,
have legal rates that they're able to offer. And those rates are the same, to the best of my knowledge, up to about $1 million worth of coverage. It's pretty much the same as what you'd get with any other underwriter in
okay,
Pennsylvania.
hmm,
But when you get over that, that's when the rates start to differ. And so, for an agent who does luxury real estate or a lot of commercial work, the fact that they could offer their clients a discounted rate could help them,
hmm,
compete and get
yeah.
business that they wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, I found it interesting because somebody asked me. I'm like, that's a good question.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's what it was. I don't know when they did it. I know that's been true for at least 2 years, because about 2 years ago that I was talking to one of their agent reps about it, and they were
Mm,
explaining to me how it works. So it's been at least 2 years, and
yeah,
could have been 10 for all I know.
yeah. That's the thing. I just was surprised that that's what they did, and because I know when I started, I know they were with them,
Yeah.
but all the title companies are going to. I know you talked to Frank about this the other day. I'm waiting to see how many title companies start to shrink even more or disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to get that contraction in a slow market.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's good. It culls the herd a little bit. Hopefully the ones that don't make it are, ones that maybe don't do it very well. But there's no guarantee that that's actually what happens. And sometimes it's just smaller ones, that don't make it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real challenge to figure out how to weather the ups and downs in the market. Cause, a really hot market presents its own challenges to survival as well.
Well, because everyone wants to think title insurance is, oh, look at all the money you're going to make off it. I'm like, we're not really a money maker, but
Yeah.
you can have good years if you do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. You can. I mean, it can be a profitable business, but yeah, I think, you know, people who are ancillary to title, real estate agents and brokers, loan officers, people who kind of know what title is and see what we're doing, but they're watching from the outside, think it's far easier than it is. I actually had an agent say one time, boy, I wish I could be a title agent. It's so easy. You just sign up to closing with a bunch of checks and say, sign here, sign here, sign here. I'm like, boy, I wish it was that easy. That's being a
Yeah.
mobile notary, and you can have that career, but that's a hard job and it doesn't pay fabulously either.
No. Yeah, you might
But-
get what, $150 a closing, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah, like you can have a good career. I've known some notaries who that's all they do is just closings,
Yeah.
and they've made a really good living for themselves and they do well. But it's still not as easy as you think, and you're
No.
still spending time outside the closing on it. So, just because somebody is with you face to face for 45 minutes and they see that you get $150 on the settlement sheet doesn't mean that that's all the time you put in. You still got to drive and print and overnight and scan and
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more to it than people don't realize.
yeah. Yeah. And it boggles my mind because, it's not like their jobs are as straightforward as it looks either.
No.
I mean, how many people have disparaged a real estate agent saying, oh, all you have to do is unlock a door. Like, no, it's not that simple.
No, see, that's the thing. There's the good agents you don't hear enough about. It's always the bad ones that are the ones that you hear.
Yeah. 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 Unfortunately, the ones who steal, those are the ones you hear the most
Oh, yeah.
about. But yeah, there's a lot of really good agents working really hard every day. And they don't get the recognition they deserve. And even in the individual transactions, everybody's first to blame the title agency for something that goes wrong, and they're the last one to get credit for anything that goes right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most of the time, I tell people, if you're a good quality title agent and you have everything done, you're sitting waiting for the lender to finish.
Yeah.
And as I always tell people, if I had the money to lend you, I mean, we would close, as soon as we could. But I said, I'm not a lender. I'm not a bank. I don't have, a printing press that I can, print some $100,000 or whatever to put into a bank to make your deal for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Chris, if you owned the title agency and you were going out shopping for title software tomorrow, what features would you be looking for? What would you want to see in a software?
I like to see more integration, not only with our underwriters, but with Charles Jones or anything that you use for ordering your taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. The third party integrations. I agree.
The
Those
third
are
party
really
integrations, I
important.
think, would be great, because now we're responsible for now checking with the state of Pennsylvania for domestic relations charges.
Yep.
We do the PACER, and those are all a separate email, usernames, passwords.
Yeah. Yep.
I think
Lots of things to log into.
And I don't think those agencies will allow the integration. So I don't think, but some of the other
Yeah.
stuff that we can integrate with would be awesome.
Yeah, I think you're going to be hard pressed to see integrations with government entities.
Yeah.
But yeah, the third parties, like Charles Jones and such. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a huge time saver. Integrations with the title searches, that's another big time saver.
Well, I think the other thing I like to see is once the mortgage or deed is recorded with either Simplifile or whatever, that information can be pulled into the software.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Because because I print it off, then I have to, click, enter, and it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I did work with the Simplifile integration with Qualia, and that was smooth. That was so smooth. It took the scanned documents and sent them to to simplify, and when everything was done, it brought the scanned copies back into Qualia along with that data, so you didn't have to retype things. It brought in the book and page number
Yeah,
and
I
the
never,
recording
you
date.
got further than I ever did with the software, because
Yeah.
that's something I think I wish they all would have.
Yeah, it absolutely. I wish they all had it. It was fantastic. But, on the other hand, I also tried their integration with a few of the different tax authorities, Charles Jones being one of them, but I tried a few different ones.
Mhm.
And ordering was great because it was a click of a button and it pulled all the pertinent information out of the file and sent it to the tax people.
Mhm.
And they were able to do their thing. So it was just, click of a button and your cert was ordered, which was fabulous. And that's a huge time saver. But bringing it back in again, all it did was it brought their PDF report into the file as a document.
Mhm.
It didn't pull all those pieces of data and populate the software. So you're still there looking, at two screens or printing it off and
Yeah.
data entrying all that so that you could get your tax prorations and things like that on the settlement sheet. So, while it was good, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah. I think just some of the simple, the easier integrations that people can do, we can put together would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like you had mentioned before, having a really good workflow order to the fields on your screens and the tabs that you have to go through, that's
Yeah.
also really important to be able to get to the information you need quickly and easily when you need it.
Right. Because if everything was integrated and they have one spot where, what you call dashboard or whatever, the main screen, when you go into the file, that, okay, everything is what's here, not here, would be, be a very positive and useful tool.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if you want to know where your tax cert is, you got to go to Charles Jones and it'll tell you, well, it's still not back yet, or that. It's like,
Yeah. To get those updates of the
yeah.
status.
Yeah. For me, what you're just talking about is Charles Jones tells me, oh yeah, my tax cert comes in, they email it to me. I have to download it from the email, then put it into Title Express and print it, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be better. It could be a lot better.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think government entities or state entities will ever allow integration into our software.
Yeah.
But the
Probably
vendors we all
not, which
deal
is
with, and
unfortunate.
yeah,
But, I could see a potential for third parties, buying that data in bulk,
Mhm.
even doing like daily downloads for updated data coming from the counties and then having their platform where that information was available and could be integrated. I could
Mhm.
see, a market for that.
Oh yeah, because you know what, that would be thinking about that. That would be great when you're entering the property address and stuff in there, and have it
Yep.
come right from the county's website, their assessment record.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Could you imagine being able to put the property address into your title software and for it to automatically be able to pull all that property information, the
Mhm.
assessments, the tax information, even the deed recording information and just to be able to pull all of that because it's all just pieces of data. It all
Yeah,
exists. Yeah, that would be fabulous. Boy, that would save so much time.
yeah. There's some tricks and some things that I think that's where Qualia, from what I remember, was starting to. There were certain things you could put in there that was finding it. If you put the PIN number in, it would find the address. If I remember,
If you put the address in, it'll give you the parcel number. Yeah,
yes,
it does do that, which is really nice. And they've
that
got
was
an
I was one
integration
of
with
the things I
Google
was
Maps.
impressed with Qualia, because it's like, because people say, because what you talk about what we do behind the scenes. I said that's the first thing I do is I go to the assessment record and match up all the information that's on the agreement of sale, because
Yeah.
we all know that realtors are perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And filling in all that missing
Yeah.
information
So
and
where does one? It's always like, well, where does one person go? Oh, she's deceased. I'm like, okay, well,
right. Why didn't you think that was important to tell me?
or yeah, or the person's, their transaction coordinator, tells me, oh well, here's the estate attorney. I'm like, what estate attorney? Oh well, both parties are deceased. Well, that's not what the contract says.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. It's enough to drive you up a wall. But can you imagine, the real estate agents, they're typing that information into a software somewhere.
Yeah.
Why do we have to type it again? Why
You-
don't we have integrations with their software? to, pull that information. I feel very strongly that once a piece of information is typed, nobody should ever have to type it again.
I agree. It's a great thought. My
Right,
biggest fear,
easier
my
said than
biggest fear is
done.
if we keep losing, as more and more agents retire and there's not enough to replace the ones that are still doing it,
Yep.
that's what's going to be, is a computer program is going to determine, are you capable of insuring it or not?
Oh, yeah. Well, there is some technology out there now, that I've seen. Have you seen TitleBox?
I heard of it and I haven't seen it, but
That's really neat. So yeah, they are doing title examinations using AI. And it's pretty wild. It'll pull all that search information in and then offer up suggestions on what you need to do to clear clouds on title. And what restrictions need to be in your commitment and things like that. It's pretty amazing stuff that they're working on there.
yeah.
So yeah, some of the technology vendors that are out there and the things they're doing are really outstanding. There's another one, the RASI Exchange, and they're working things from the policy side where they're building a database of policies that title agents could go and search to find back title in order to help them clear. Could you imagine being able to find who last insured to
Yeah.
see their
Yeah.
policy and that they cleared a mortgage that is still showing open on your records?
Oh yeah. I've had several of them like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're building that kind of
Especially when the mortgages
database.
are from like the 1990s, that a bank that was a one-off, and I know how familiar you are with the Lehigh Valley. That was the First National Bank of Bath from
Mhm.
1990. Look at it, and then you look up the bank. Oh, looks like it got bought out by Wells Fargo. Well, before Wells Fargo bought it, they sold the mortgage to another company
Mhm.
and then
Yep.
sold it. And
And
then
heck, if it was from 1990, then it probably was sold to Wachovia.
it didn't even go to Wachovia. It went to Embrace Mortgage.
I've never even heard of that one.
They're not even in business anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
trying to track those down,
oh
those
yeah,
lenders who have been bought by lenders who then assigned it to some other lender who was bought by another lender. It's crazy.
so yeah, I tracked down the previous title company that did the search. Then they told me, oh, we only did a current owner search. We didn't search the title going back any further
Oh,
when
geez.
they did the refinance.
Well, that's common for a refi, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Although it
Which-
should have picked up open mortgages, but
I know they didn't. They missed it, and they said, "Oh, we missed it." I'm like, "Okay, well, but they sent me the HUD sheet that had the mortgage on it. Found out that Embrace was sold to TIAA Craft, and now TIAA Craft just got bought out by somebody.
yeah.
So I have a company that partners with First American called Fast Tracks, and they're trying to get the SAC piece for the last 5 months from this bank.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I know the
Yeah.
mortgage is paid because I got the HUD sheet that shows that it was paid and taken care of.
Right. But you still got to clear that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's the next title company's problem.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I hate when I hear other title companies, oh, we got a letter of indemnity, we didn't try and correct it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I've had plenty of transactions where, all the hoops I had to jump through to clear things so that I could close, but they still weren't necessarily cleared off record, and putting together a package for the homeowner and saying, okay, here's your policy. Here's a copy of your settlement statement. Here's a copy of the letter of indemnity that I got. And here's a copy of this other thing here and this other thing here. And you need to put all of these together and know where to find them. So that way, when you go to sell the property in 20 years, you can hand this whole packet to that title company, and then you're going to be okay.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. I said, when you get everything from me, put it in a safe place so you don't lose it. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? Is it as good as gold as, as long as you own the property and all the stuff that's in there?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And to have that package all put together for them to hand off to the next company, going to save them a whole lot of headaches. But I don't think a lot of title companies do that either. They'll send a policy and they don't provide any explanation or any of the extra documents that might be helpful for the next company to do it.
But yeah, it's an interesting time with the software too. I will agree.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 10 years, because oh my goodness, what's happened in the last 10 is pretty amazing.
Like I said,
Have-
if they can further integrate and get, take out all these extra steps and all these other websites we got to go to, I
Yeah,
think that would actually help with, wire fraud and stuff.
yeah,
Because every time we keep accessing these websites, we're we're hoping and praying that their security is still active and up and running. But you
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah, you never know when something's been hacked. But that's another interesting topic, the softwares that have come around to help with wire fraud and
mhm.
funds transfers and things like that. That's a whole other wild area of technology that's just grown by leaps and bounds.
Oh yeah, it's wire fraud is growing by leaps and bounds every year.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately it is, but at least there's some technology to help us,
Yeah,
keep up with it. But yeah, but then, then you're looking at having subscriptions to 25 different software platforms to do this, that, and the other thing, and
yeah.
that gets really burdensome too.
That would be the other thing that the title companies create a secure email portal right through their own software.
Qualia has.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got that Qualia Connect client
Mhm.
portal, that's secure email, so you can send wire instructions and payoffs and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a really key component. I think anyone who's shopping for title software, it is something they should be looking at. Because how many people are using Gmail? You
Mhm.
shouldn't be sending wire instructions through email. You shouldn't be sending payoffs through an unsecured email. You're just asking for fraud
But
problems.
part of it is, and this is why I educate realtors. I said, using Gmail, Yahoo, and stuff. I said, you're opening not only yourself but your clients to wire fraud and to us getting hacked of getting our information.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I said, I know that some realtors use, majority of them use those type of platforms because they're free. They don't,
Yeah.
being a realtor, you have to pay for that type, email from the company. I'm like, to me, I mean, I think it'd be easier to pay for the email from the company than get hacked or have your client lose a ton of money.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, for a title agency to be able to provide that kind of secure portal that their real estate agent referral partners can make use of, that's selling point.
Mhm.
That's a really good selling point. To be able to say, well, hey, you don't have to pay for secure email. You can do all your communications through my portal, and you can communicate with clients, you can communicate
Mhm.
with me, and you don't have to worry. That's a really good selling point.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing. If somebody's shopping for software, do they have a client portal, and what does it do? Because not all client portals are created the same either.
Yeah.
Some of them won't do anything more than deliver the title commitment. Okay, that's nice, but to have one where all parties can send and receive email
Mhm.
messages, and they can, all parties can upload documents and deliver them to anybody else in the transaction. Like, that's really powerful. And then a portal that'll also collect information from people and put it right into the right fields in your software. Those
Oh
are
yeah.
really big things, to be able to have, buyers and sellers log in and put their social security number in and to know it's safe. Like,
Yeah,
that's huge.
that's what people don't understand. I said, when I talk to realtors and other stuff, I said, we're a depository of information that if we ever, somebody truly figured out, hack software. I'm sure Quality and I know others have, upgrade, try to make it as tough as you can to crack their
Yeah.
software. But I said, if somebody does, and I said, we're almost all cloud based now.
Yep.
I said,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a
It's a
treasure
treasure
trove.
trove of data.
You thought the federal government getting hacked would be bad because of all the information they have. Well, I mean, we got it all as well.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, then that's another thing to look for in software company. What security features do they have?
Mhm.
How are they protecting the data? It's important.
Right.
So, well, Chris, I think we have kind of covered just about everything you could possibly think of for title software, but this was great. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you joining my call today.
No, I thought it's interesting because, like I said, I've been sort of privy to Tile Express and I've known the ins and outs and I've gotten very comfortable with it, but learning about what other people use and what's coming down the pike doesn't mean that I won't change.
Yeah,
It's just, what's out there, what is, like you said, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly? You raised a valid point because people always ask me, and I'll leave you with this. There is not one perfect software.
no, there's
I said,
not.
nope. I said, there's nothing that's like foolproof. I mean, most of them are like 80, 90%. They're still missing that 10% of some of the things that, Qualia might have, but the others don't, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. They all have their pros, they all have their cons. There's definitely not a, a best
Yeah.
software that anybody could point to and be like, oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
And some of them are better at some things than others.
Oh, yeah.
Like Qualia, for example, they're really great for residential, but they're a little lacking still in the commercial side.
Right.
So, for a title agency that does, 99% of their work in residential, that's fine. That's not a problem. If 99% of your work is commercial, well, maybe that's not the right choice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that some of them have strengths, and weaknesses too. So it really depends on each particular title agency and what they need. Some are better for a smaller agency, some are better for a larger agency.
I mean, my preference is if you're just starting out and don't have any experience, that's why I would say Tile Express probably would be
Because it's simple.
because it's all simple. It's all tab. You click on it and you fill in the boxes. Now you want to be highly technical and highly efficient. From what I know of Qualia, that seems to be the way you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, people really have to weigh out the pros and cons. And I think there's plenty of room for a lot of competitors because people have their preferences for different reasons. But it really does pay to evaluate several different software companies before making a choice because they are all so different.
Yeah. Well, it's good seeing you, Cheryl.
Yep.
My coworker Jill will be meeting with you on Monday.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Chris. This was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. Thank you so much, Cheryl. You have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.